This is the final episode of my 3-episode interview with Shelley Fabray from the Donna Reed Show and her wonderful husband, Mike Farrell, who played BJ Honeycutt on MASH. In case you missed the first 2 episodes of the interview, you can go back and watch them on That's Classic. Enjoy. Okay, this is a totally different angle, by the way, Mike, on this question. It caught me out of the corner of my eye. This is from China Clay. Mike, how did you get involved in making a short film for the LDS Church back in the 60s? It was so intriguing to recognize you. Were you in that?
I don't remember the film. I was asked to play some character. I've forgotten what it was actually. But yeah, I was in the 60s. I was somebody who wanted to be an actor, and
Yeah.
somebody offered me a role to play, and I did. And ever since then, not ever since, it hasn't happened now for a while, but for a long time, people used to ask me if I was a Mormon.
Right.
Are you a member of the LDS?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I had done this little movie for somebody. How did it happen? It happened because somebody said, "We'll pay you to play this character."
Right, exactly.
And I said, "Okay."
Yeah, I got you. That there was a comment that came in after it, like just a little comment, not necessarily a question, that said someone else had seen it and said, I believe a young Daniel J. Travanti was also in it.
Oh, really?
No kidding.
Oh, for
Yeah.
heaven.
So,
No,
yeah.
it may be where Dan and I met. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So you guys were friends.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, maybe that is it. Isn't that wild? Yeah.
Yes, it is wild.
Yeah. This is okay, I'll give you the next one. This is from Claire. This is for Shelley. Shelley, you were in an adaptation of Our Town with Frank Sinatra. What was that like to work with such an icon?
Uh, it was unbelievable. Do a little preface here. Our Town, it was a musical version of Our Town, and it starred Frank Sinatra as the stage manager and Eva Marie Saint
Oh,
and
wow.
as the young lovers, George and Emily. And so I was cast to be George's younger sister. And so I knew nothing about Frank Sinatra, nothing.
Oh.
And I knew about Paul Newman, but I didn't hear that music. I now think it's just impossible not to have known about Frank Sinatra, but I didn't.
That's
And
really something.
and
Yeah.
he didn't. It was to be done on a soundstage at NBC Studios in Burbank, made famous by Johnny Carson.
Mhm.
Welcome to downtown Burbank.
Yeah.
The idea was, it was a beautiful rendition of the story of Our Town. I think it's the greatest American play ever. I think it's just
Yeah, it's a classic. Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
absolutely. And I couldn't believe that I was cast in it. I had a little part as the sister of, but I just, it was so exciting. My Aunt Nanette sent me a telegram, well, a Western Union
You're
telegram.
right.
And she said, "My darling Shelley, I'm here at work. Everybody will be watching the show." She said, everybody. She said Sid, and she named everybody that was one of the, because this is
Sid Caesar.
Sid Caesar, yeah.
It's Caesar. Wow.
And Howard Morris, and they'll all be sitting here. We'll stop rehearsing and be watching you, and know you'll be fabulous and wonderful, and we can't wait to see you, and I'm just so proud, and just have a wonderful time, and I know you'll be just great. Aunt Nanette, P.S. Tell Frank, I'm sure he'll be good too. It was great. It was great.
That is great.
it was a wonderful show. Sammy Kahn and Jimmy Van Heusen were the two people who did the music for the show, and they wrote 4 songs, and they're all so wonderful. One was called Love and Marriage, for the scene where they got married, and that became a big hit by Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah.
And then there was one called oh gosh, wait, Love and Marriage. We were going through the impatient years. It's when they were trying to get together. And then there was the theme song, which was Our Town. I love that music. It's just wonderful. And it was so perfect for the show. It was just wonderful. It was a thrill to be a part of that whole thing. And
Wow.
I had to not think that my Aunt Nanette and everybody that she worked with was watching, but not thinking about that made it a little easier. It was great experience.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I'll tell you, that's what's kind of fun about doing the fan questions is, somebody comes up with that. It's like
Right.
wonderful. I love hearing that. Okay, next one is from Robert Roberto. Funny. What makes your relationship work with scheduled time together? How do you two connect to make that relationship last? I guess what they're saying is with your own scheduled time on a
Right.
daily basis, how do you make sure that you two connect?
Who's for? Who's the question
for
for?
both of
Oh,
us.
Roberts.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's for both of you, basically.
Oh, great, sure. Well, one thing, when you're an actor, and we were both when we met. Actually, we met when I was doing the first television series I ever did, which was The Interns with Crawford.
Yeah.
And we met, and I, at the time, was, she reminds me, going around dopily showing the picture of my son who had just been born. I was had been married for a short time, and our son was born. That's where we met. So, we saw each other in the business. We didn't really know each other. I didn't even have the scene with her in that show. And I remember after The Interns, I was under contract at Universal to do a show with Anthony Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
One of the greats.
Is that Man in the City? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
You're really good.
Yeah, you
do your research.
And every once in a while, I'd go to lunch at the commissary, and I'd see this lovely young woman and say hello, and she'd say hello. And so over time, I guess we bumped into each other and years later, I'm trying to figure out exactly timing wise, but at any rate, I had just come from this is more of a story than you want to hear, because you want to know how you work out your time. So
it's all right. I think it's all fascinating.
Building the lily here.
Yeah.
I had just come back from Central America for the first time and seen the strife and the horror of the Civil War there. And I was very involved in the political movement here to stop it and stuff. And I had been told to be, I had been asked to go to what they call the affiliates dinner, which is all the network, different network ownership people in the country come, and CBS puts them together with a bunch of their actors from different shows to hype their support for the new season.
Oh, sure.
And I had just come from Central America, of all places, where you'd seen the worst of what is possible in terms of human behavior. And the last thing I wanted to do was go to some Hollywood event, but I had promised that I'd be there. And I went to this hotel in San Francisco and walked in and looked at all these people and all these actors and all these people, some of whom I knew and some of whom I didn't. And they were all going to talk about showbiz. And I didn't want to do that. And I walked around the room and I saw this woman. And I stopped and she was talking to somebody, and I waited for a minute, and then I tapped her on the shoulder and I said, I just wanted to tell you that every time I see you over the years, I get the warmest feeling. Thank you for that.
Wow.
And she engaged me, thank God, in conversation. And we stayed in conversation for the rest of the time. And then we were introduced to the crowd and to the people, the guests at the dinner. And because we were lined up alphabetically, she's FAB and I was FAR, so we were right next to each other. So I just kept talking. She said, I said, "Do you have any great hopes here?" And she said, "Oh, I want to meet two people. I want to meet Walter Cronkite and Charles Kuralt."
I love that.
Helpful. And we were assigned separate tables, didn't see each other during the dinner. And then it was all over and they had done their presentation and we were walking out, and she and I were just happened to be together. I said, "Did you get to see the people you wanted to see, meet the people?" She said, "Well, I got to meet Charles Kuralt," and I was so excited I couldn't say anything.
Love that.
Not a word.
Oh my gosh.
Didn't meet Cronkite. And I said, "Well, I'm tall. Let me look around. Maybe I can find him for you." And I couldn't, but we stayed together. And I'm telling you a long story, and it may not answer your question. But
does it matter anyway?
I'm out of the hotel, and as we came out of the hotel, a cable car came up the hill and stopped. And I said, would you like to take a ride on the cable car? And she said, "Oh, and I can't, she had told me about, I guess, that she was seeing this fellow. And she said, "Oh, I really can't." And then she said, "Oh, well, why not?" So we got on the cable car.
Oh my gosh.
Went down to the pier and walked and talked and talked. I just spilled my guts to this poor, thoughtful, sweet thing.
Wow.
What I had seen for the last period of time, where I'd been and what I was seeing, and how wrong it was for me to be here in this Hollywood gala when this is anyway. And she was extraordinarily patient. And we walked all the way back to the hotel where I said goodnight. And the next morning, they assigned us to the same limousine to be driven to the airport, to fly home.
Oh, what are the chances? Wow. Okay.
And then we were assigned seats together on the airplane, and she told me about a problem she was having.
Oh my gosh.
And had with One Day at a Time with the writers. Anyway, long story short, I said, "Look, I'm supposed to be speaking to a group about this trip I had to Central America.
Yeah.
You and your fella are interested in coming." "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't." I said it was tomorrow night or the next night or something. She said, "I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. We really can't." She said, "But if you ever do it again, let me know." And I said, "Okay." And 2 months later, I was about to do this presentation again. And I called. I had gotten her number, called and left a message. And I said, "If you and your friend would like to come."
You and your friend, and every time you have a slight pause on your friend, by the way.
And I got a message back. She said, "I'd love to come. Would it be okay if I brought my sister?" And I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I don't want to say promising, but that's okay. So that was the beginning.
Wow.
Once you have the opportunity to spend time with this woman, you don't want to let go. And we dated for a while, and we had both been married and divorced, or divorced. And we'd both been in the business where we knew what happens in the business. And I had found home as far as I was concerned. And I wanted to prove to her that she would be taken care of and be watched over and protected and loved of her life. And I've tried everything in my power to show that. And that's how we worked it out.
That's awesome. That was a wonderful explanation of that. I really appreciate it. You know what's kind of cool too is when I interviewed Shelley, Shelley told me how you guys met through the affiliate and everything. But what's really funny is if you go back to that interview, Shelley says, and I always tell it different than Mike. So it was really fun to hear, your angle on it as well. Very similar, by the way, but there are some things. It's just kind of neat. It was really neat. So that's awesome. Thank you for doing that. Okay. By the way, are we okay? Are we still okay? You guys all right?
We're having a ball.
Okay, great. If you want to get in on the fun of That's Classic, go to my merchandise store. You can get a t-shirt, a mug, or a variety of items. The QR code is right here on the screen. That'll take you right to the site, or I'll put it in the description below the video. Have fun, enjoy. Let's go back to the interview. Here's our next one. This is from Ed. This is for Shelley. Do you remember working with Hank Williams Jr. in A Time to Sing?
Yes.
Yeah, what that's when I have to admit I definitely did not see that. What?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Just leave it like that. It was a movie to star Hank Williams Jr. And I wasn't under contract at MGM, but they had given me a three-picture deal. And so anyway, first two were taken care of. And the third one came about. There was a producer that produced a lot of films at Columbia Pictures. And he was kind of a typical in style and in presentation, the Hollywood kind of agent. And he always had a big cigar, and
oh boy.
Yeah. So at this time I was still doing the Donna Reed Show, and Paul Peterson and I sat in the same schoolroom because it was on set. Okay. So Sam was this man's name, and he just loved both Paul and me. He just thought we were wonderful. And he was also had been friends with the teacher that we had for school while we were on the set. And so then the Donna Reed Show was over with, and I get a phone call from my agent, and they said, Sam wants to have you come out. He has a part for you in his movie if you want. And his movies were never very good, and they were of a type, and if it had Elvis Presley in it, it would have been very good. But it was Hank Williams Jr.
Right,
and an actor, and anyway. So, and then I thought, oh, and they said, Sam just said the most wonderful things about you, and he really da 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 da. And I was like, oh my God, I can't. How do I say no to Sam? You know, he's asked,
right,
and he's always been so sweet. So I finally agreed to it. I said yes, and I was just stunned by how bad the script was. And a very, very corny setup. He was a country singer, trying to be a country singer.
Shocking. Yeah.
Yes, I think that idea. Um, so I think I was supposed to be working for the record company or something.
Mm.
So we started, and there was another actor by the name of Jerville Martin, and he played like the friend of Hank Williams. Anyway, we have to shoot. Most of the shoot is done on the stages at MGM, and I had already done 2 movies there, and so I kind of, Mike said so sweetly that he felt like he had found home when he found me.
Yeah.
And this is not as romantic, to put it mildly, as what he said. But when I got to MGM on even the first film, but the second one, and then the third one, it was my home. I just knew, I felt really at home there.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
And everything was good, excepting I had to go in and do that script, That's what I had to do every 8 days. Anyway, so finally we finished the film, and they call me and they say, okay, Sam wants to take everybody down to Nashville, and they're going to have a premiere of the movie. I said, of this movie? Oh boy. I said, I don't think I can do that. When is this for? And it was, in essence, their answer was, when can you go?
Right,
So
right.
took away my excuse of not being anyway, so I told them, and my sister went with me, and her husband was in Vietnam at that time, and she worked as a background performer in the show, but because she was going to be there with me anyway, so they had her do things in the picture.
Yeah.
So I said, but I'll be bringing my sister. And they said, oh, yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So I called my sister and I said, okay, we're going to Nashville.
Wow.
And see something awful. So just wear whatever you like, but sort of dress up a little bit because it's a premiere. We go on the plane, and there's where we meet Hank and his wife, and I don't think they're married anymore, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And he was, hi, Shelley, hi. That's how he talks. And
Yeah.
Oh dear, this movie is going to be even worse than I thought, because he just he didn't say anything wrong. It was just
Right.
this real country kind of talk, how you doing? Really nice to have you here. Okay, thank you very much.
And he
Anyway,
wasn't an actor. I mean, I know that either.
no,
Yeah. Right.
and he really tried, he was really there and would ask the director questions and stuff, and I think, but anyway, finally we were there doing press interviews and stuff, and so I said to my sister, we have to go into the screening room, the theater, and I said, but we're going to leave really fast when the movie starts. She said, you're going to leave? I said, yeah. I said, I worked in it and I saw it. It's awful. I don't want to see it again. I don't want you to see it. And I said, and I can get out. There's a door over here to the theater. And I said, we'll just do it when the lights go down. And we did. That's it. I don't know what we did after that. I don't know where
Oh,
we
is that unreal?
it was my escape from Sam.
Wow.
Anyway.
Wow. Well, that is classic. That is also really funny about, yeah, Hank. Okay, here's Mike. This is from Christine. And she says, Mike, you were my favorite on MASH. I got a kick out of you dressing like a woman. It was hilarious. Uh, No questions, just a comment unless you have something to say about it.
Christine, I think you're confusing me with Jamie Farr. Jamie dressed like
You're kidding. There wasn't a moment where they had you dress like a woman?
remember, unless it's something that I put out of my mind.
I thought she was referring to like an episode because, of course, Jamie Farr always dressed like a woman in the show. Oh, that's funny.
A lot of people make the Farr Farrell confusion. So I don't know.
Yeah, kind of big difference though in the characters, but yeah, okay. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you this one. This is from Sue. Mike, were you very active in political causes while MASH was actually shooting? And was that ever frowned upon at the time by the network or the production company?
Yes and no. Thank you. I was, yes, very involved in a number of issues. There's no reason to go into them, I suppose, but gay rights was a big problem then, as it unfortunately continues to be today.
Yep.
And we were against the war that was going on, made that very clear. So yeah, there was a lot going on. And the network may have objected. I don't know. They never said to me, calm down or quiet down, to their credit. But it wouldn't have worked. Words to say that. You know, I mean, you have to do what you have to do. And there are certain things I think that need to be dealt with straightforwardly. And so I do.
Oh, that's pretty awesome that they didn't, you know what I mean? And they just kept it going. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good for them.
Yeah, yeah, big time. This is from Sue as well. Shelley, did you feel threatened by Donna Reed's husband as he sounds a bit intense? I think she might be getting that. Well, I don't know if she's getting it from. I know that you had mentioned him in the first interview, but maybe she's talking about some other things she's seeing too.
No, she's talking about the story that I told about Tony Owen was Donna Reed's husband at the time, as well as husband and wife. And they owned the show. And so Tony was the producer, Donna was the star. And he was a man from Chicago, and he had been in the sports world, not playing, but in the sports world. And he had, I can do it a little bit, but he would talk like this. Hey, Shelley, I gotta ask you something. And it was like Mother Eucharia from Catholic school saying she wanted to talk to you.
Oh yeah.
So I said, oh yes, Mr. Owen. And so we were just outside our stage one where we shot everything. And he said, got an idea. He said, you know, Ricky Nelson, he called him Ricky Nelson, you know, sings all the time on their show on Ozzie and Harriet. And I said, yes, I know. I said, watch it. And he said, well, he said, we're thinking, he said, and I've already discussed it with most of the people that have to give the okay, but we had a talk, and I said, well, we've got 2 kids on our show, they can sing. And he said, so we just wanted to let you know that we were going to do that and you were going to sing. And I said, I just felt my stomach drop. And I said, Mr. Owen, I said, and I was really, as much as I talk now, I didn't talk then. I didn't say, and I certainly didn't say no to anything.
Yeah.
I was in a business that I was always told what to do, as Mike talked about my hair earlier.
Right.
Certainly. Anyway, I said, Mr. Owen, I said, that really is, it's a very good idea. And I said, and I'm sorry. I said, but I can't do that. I said, I can't sing. I said, Paul, who is standing right there, Paul Peterson. I said, well, Paul just can do anything. He said, I said, right. he can sing. He's a good actor. And Paul said, oh yeah, I'll go. What?
Yeah, of course. Of course, Paul did.
And I said, I don't know what I said after that. I just sort of flummoxed. And he said, okay. He said, well, he said, do you like being on the show? To me. And I said, oh, yes, Mr. Owen, I love being on the show. I love it. Thank you. And he said, ah, then sing.
Oh man.
And
Oh man.
I just, and he said it, he was a big guy and he was saying, then sing, it's just terrifying.
Oh.
Anyway, it was, as happens in life sometimes, I remained terrified all through the years that I had to record.
Wow.
And because the first one was a hit, so they did successive ones,
Of course they did. Yeah.
And each song was a little less good than the one before. So I said, no, they just kept talking about, well, you're going to go up and we're going to send you to New York, Shelley. And the A&R man lives in New York, and he'll be arranging songs and setting up the record in New York. And just, everything was like there's a nail going in my head.
Oh man, no kidding. Oh.
So he finally said, okay, we'll talk another time. Fine. Bye, goodbye.
So he was terrifying.
He was terrifying. Yeah, he sounds terrifying. Did he continue to have that presence? Like, as you shot the rest of the show, did he still, every time you kind of were around him, feel a little bit of like,
yeah. Yes.
Okay.
He was I started the show when I was 14, so I kind of always acted and reacted like a 14-year-old. My growing up didn't happen until quite a bit later. And
Wow.
and he was always the boss. I mean, everybody on the set would, oh, Tony's here. So everybody would be kind of like, they know.
Oh my gosh.
And he wasn't mean.
Right.
He was mean what he said to me. He knew that it would have the effect on me that it did. But he was the first one to come down to the set with a paper in his hand. And he said, Shelley. And I said, yes, Mr. Owen. He said,
Wow.
come here. He said, look at this. He said, this is a paper that's called Billboard. And he said, this shows all the records that are out right now and where they sit in the list. And he said, look at number 1. And I looked and it said Johnny Angel by Shelley.
Boy.
And I just said, I don't know what I said.
Yeah, right.
And he said, so I told you could sing. So I can't. But he said, we'll have Stu come out here and then we'll pick out the songs.
Oh
and
man.
Anyway, so Stu did come out, and no, I had to fly to New York, and we went through a few songs. And I walked into his room, to his apartment, and he said, Shelley, he said, what would you like to sing, and what key do you sing in? And I said, no, I said, Mr. Phillips, I said, I've tried to explain to everybody that I'm talking to. I said, I don't have a key. I don't.
Right.
I don't. I wouldn't have. And he said, oh, well, we'll try something. We'll see what. And I just thought, this is just going to go on forever. And it did.
Unbelievable.
But he said he was going through sheet music. And he'd play one song and play another. And no. He would say, no, I don't like that one. Then he said, wait, I have one more song. And he reaches into his briefcase and he says, this is a song. He said, I think this could be the right song for you because it's age appropriate. And so he said, try this one. And it was Johnny Angel.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
Oh, and Tony Owen himself never got over the shock that it was the #1 record.
Exactly. Wow. What an intense guy.
Yes.
Um, awesome. Um, okay. Well, Mike here, this is from Warren Kroom. And Warren says, Mr. Farrell, when I think of MASH, two of my favorite scenes are featuring you in, looks like Novacaine Mutiny, describing Jamie Farr's cleaner to the general. You said, well, if I may, sir, she's a he. And the other is when you almost got kicked by Sophie the horse while giving her a shot in Dear Mildred.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, can you take us back? Sorry, Mike. Can you take us back to those episodes and tell me how hard it was to film those with a straight face?
Yes.
It's hard to film many of them with a straight face, but that's what they call acting.
Oh yeah.
The Sophie the horse thing. When I guess it was Harry, Colonel Potter's horse got sick. I've forgotten quite what the deal was, but we went through this deal about, well, what do we do? What do we do? And as we're talking about the scene, he said, Mike, where are you from? I said, Minnesota, but I was raised out here. He said, Judy, your wife, where's she from? Oklahoma. Oklahoma. Oh, Oklahoma. What's her father's name? Floyd. Floyd Hayden. Floyd Hayden. Perfect. He said, does Floyd know horses? Oh, I said, Floyd, he knows everything. Okay, so the scene, we did the scene about, we'll call Floyd Hayden with the veterinarian, and he'll tell us what to do about the horse and heal the horse, and the horse gets better and everything is fine. But when the show was on the air, Floyd worked at the city's service gas company or something. And he said he went into his office and there was somebody pinned a star, drawn a star on a piece of paper and taped it to the door in his office. Oh, Floyd Hayden, star of match.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So of course, I mean, we had a lot of fun, and there were times when I couldn't keep a straight face, and we'd have to shoot the scene more than once. But we had a ball doing it.
Oh God, that's great. That is pretty cool. Well, we're down to our it looks like we got like 4 or 5 questions here.
Okay.
So you guys got it. Here we go. This is for Shelley. This is from Christopher. Shelley, what was it like working with Nanette?
That was Nanette was my aunt. She has also passed away. But she was cast to play my mother on Coach. And it was going to be a scene where before we got married. And she was going to come in and stay with Hayden and me. And Aunt Nanette was and is still, talking about you, Aunt Nanette. She was a big star on Broadway, I mean, huge star.
Very.
And everything on stage is done projected, because you're supposed to, even if you're in a little tiny theater, the director who's heard this said on sets, louder, you got to hear it in the back row. So that was Aunt Nanette's forte. She could hit the walls just standing on her head, and she was fearless about trying anything, doing anything. So she had great numbers to do, and she hit the wall all the time. So then she comes to, and I'm thinking, She's coming to our show. There's several different personalities in this show. I wonder how it's going to go with her. And but I adored her, and she was very funny. But she was very touchy-feely. So she cranked out today, and I thought, I don't think you want to ask him that. I think you might want to go over in the corner and just sit down. But he was very nice. He was charming, and he was sweet to her. Anyway, I loved working with her because she's my aunt and I know her. And we had also worked together before that in One Day at a Time. I played Bonnie's business partner, and Aunt Nanette had, previous to my being on there, had done several episodes of playing Bonnie's mother. So
that's right. Yeah.
So now, anyway, so we get going on the show, and should I tell the story about the autograph? Person who said about doing the autograph, and she explained what the process was to do that.
Oh.
I'll tell you what I was saying.
Well, yeah, go for it.
I am, but it involves other people, so that's why I was checking.
Oh, okay.
But this is an Aunt Nanette story. So now we're doing the show, and
Coach,
yes, and she's being Aunt Nanette, and she's just friendly and all walking around and talking and this and that, and just, she was Aunt Nanette, just sort of adorable. And so then they do the scene that we're supposed to do before our wedding. And what it's composed of is, I lean over the staircase to say something to whoever is downstairs. And the idea is that I fall over the
banister.
Thank you very much. Fall over the banister and fall right into the cake. So
I like it.
It was good. It was good. And they had a stand-in who was an actress who was a stunt woman. And
wow.
I said, well, I could maybe do that, and they said, no.
Oh, jeez.
And I thought, well, that would be fun to do, but it really was a long drop. They had done a big set. So anyway, I did it, and I didn't do it. I sat off and watched it from the side, and I just remember Aunt Nanette laughing so much. She thought that was so funny, and she was just great. She was a life force, all of her own, and there's nobody else like her, and there never will be anybody like her. There are many wonderful people, but Aunt Nanette was just fabulous.
You were going to tell about the autograph.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
I love these moments. They're awesome. Yeah.
Oh, God. So there was a guy who was like the warm-up guy for our show. He would come out and he would keep the audience occupied for a little bit of time, and people could ask questions. And okay, so one night, we all way down in the right in front of the audience, but we've just been introduced, so they know who we are, and we're standing down there, and I'm standing right next to Barry Kemp, who's the creator of the show. Fabulous man, created so many shows, and he's just wonderful. And he's a shy man, and so the person in the audience raising their hand said, well, my question is for Nanaette Fabray. I would really love to have an autograph picture of you, an autograph of you, and a signed picture from you. And Aunt Nanette said, well, oh, I can't do that because we're getting ready to do the show, and there's just a certain amount of time. And the guy said, okay. He said, but if I wait till after the show, he said, can I get it then? And she said, well, let me explain something to you. She said, the way this goes, she said, I'll be happy to do that if I can. But, you know, when you write to us and you tell us you like us, and that's very nice, but then you ask for a picture. So then that means that we have to find one of the pictures that we can send out, and then we have to autograph it and make sure that it gets to the post office. And she said, you know, and I don't know where most of those things go, but that's what you do with them. And she said, and I have to tell you, she said, you all have been very kind through the years, writing me fan letters and stuff. She said, but I have to tell you, she said, and I know that nobody thinks about this. She said, but it costs, what was the figure she used? It was like 25 cents. $1.20 for us to send out the picture, plus the time that we have to get it. And I was standing next to Barry Camp, and I went, oh my God. I said, Barry. And so Aunt Nanette, as she could do, just told a long story about how much it was. And we're very grateful to get those fan letters, but we sign them all and get them back out. And
buy the envelopes.
Yeah, oh, geez.
And she said, but thank you very much for asking. And if we can get together after the show, I'll be happy to sign it. But anyway, so that was working with that, and that was like.
That's really funny. All right. Mike, this one's for you. Mike, from Jill, by the way. Mike, which episode of MASH resonated with you the most, do you think?
Boy, there are a couple that are my, I think the best episode we did was something called The Interview, which was a kind of a recreation of the idea of Edward R. Murrow going to Korea. Clete Roberts, a newsman, came in into our MASH and interviewed each of us about what it was like to be away from home. It was a very touching,
I remember that one. Yeah.
And a terrific thing about that particular episode was Gene came to each of us with a little recorder and a pad of paper. He said, there are some questions here, and I want you to answer them in character. So Larry Gelbart, who was writing the script, can take your words from your character's point of view and use and respond to these questions.
Wow.
So essentially, he asked us to write our own scripts for that portion of the interview, which I thought was a typically generous and really wonderful thing they did to sort of incorporate all of us into the process. So I thought that show was maybe the best one we ever did, but different people have different views. The show where still gets me, where after Gary Berghoff decided to leave the show in, I guess, the next season, they wrote one that said that Peg wrote me, and BJ gets a letter. Peg said, we went down to the ship to meet Radar, Walter. And when Erin, my daughter, BJ's daughter, saw him in uniform, she called him Daddy.
Oh. And
it broke BJ's heart, as it would break mine. It did break when we were talking about it. And BJ went berserk and got drunk and got in a fight with Hawkeye and broke down. And there was really quite an extraordinary challenge for me as an actor, but also an opportunity to talk about what we were representing, which was this issue of people leaving their families and going to war in whatever way they did war, and the cost to everybody involved. So, that's the wonderful thing about MASH for me is the human costs that were depicted and brought to you as a television show, with laughs and fun, and every once in a while a real zets like that said, man,
Yeah,
it ain't all fun.
no, but it is. Yeah, that's what's nice is they didn't stray away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's also why it's so special. I mean, it's true. Yeah. Wow. Shelley, and this is for you. This is from I love these names, by the way. AC Wiggle 2494.
94. Okay.
Yeah. Shelley, why did the Donna Reed show end? So it wants to know.
Well, the show was produced by Tony Owen, who was Donna Reed's husband. So they were the producer. They owned the show. And and Donna really loved doing the show, but she had 4 children of her own at home, and she wanted to do a few other things. And everybody was like, "Oh no, Donna, you can't do it." But she said, "No, I think this is the time. This is really hard for me." She said, "But it's the time to close the show down now." And that was at the end of the 8th year. And that's why I don't know the conversations between Donna and Tony, but it doesn't strike me as strange that Donna had the premier vote, because she was doing, the acting and also so, and then going home to the 4 kids. So it was a long, and we did 39 episodes a year. Today, shows are done in 6 episodes.
Yeah. And even big ones were like 22, at the time. 39?
39 every year. Yes. Yeah. It was, it was an intense schedule. It really was. So now in the position I'm in now, I think of Donna going home with 4 kids at home.
Yep.
Varying ages, and how hard her life, while it was wonderful, how hard that had to be to carry all those parts that she was playing.
Oh, of course.
So
wow. Okay.
That's what was the name again?
That was AC Wiggle.
AC Wiggle. Thank you for asking that question. And how did you get your name?
Yeah, exactly. Now whoever that person is will write back. I know, because you asked that. So this is the final question, and I think it's a good one, just, I guess in a light tone. Suze, who had actually asked you a question much earlier, just wants to know, between the two of you, what shows do you two enjoy watching?
I have always been a big television watcher, and Mike has not been a big television watcher. He would walk into a room when I was watching television, and he'd say, "What are you looking at?" And I'd say, "Well, that's Seinfeld or something." And he goes, "Seinfeld? What is that?" Well, so you're dealing with somebody who doesn't watch television. Excuse me. I personally I have loved Murder, She Wrote. I was a big mystery fan.
Oh, yeah.
loved Angela Lansbury, and I I just I was sick during part of that time when I was sick. It was, and I had to stay in bed. So I saw every episode of Murder She Wrote and every episode of, I can't think what it was called now, Designing Women. That was it.
Oh yeah.
And but I love mysteries. I love, we've been watching a whole bunch of television since we've had some free time. And what other shows do we like? You speak.
Well, yeah, we watch now with, there's so much being offered besides
So much.
regular channels. There
Right.
are these platforms, the Netflixes and the Amazon or whatever you call it, Prime, and
Yeah.
British television. We love Nicola. What is her name?
Her name is Nicola. Oh,
Actress, a British actress.
oh,
Anything she's in, we will we will go watch.
Oh, I'll have to look that up, especially with a name like that. I'm sure I'll be able to find that. Okay.
She's.
Think of
I'm sorry, I don't know her. I can't pop out her full name, but
I do know it, and I can't.
but we look for things that are interesting. I love the challenge of mysteries, and I, having been in the military, I like watching some of the shows that are that expo or that portray some military situations. But for me, it's about what's real. I'm always moved when something can touch me in a way because of the reality of the moment.
Yes.
It can be a comedy or it can be a drama. As long as it tickles that part of your, I'm looking at myself and I see that the sun has come into the room here. Yeah. Tickles that part of your sensibilities that allows for a kind of a recognition on your part.
Mm-hmm.
And when people can create something in a dramatic situation, dramatic or comedic situation, that makes your emotional response a real emotional response,
Right.
I think that's art. That is just brilliance. And there are actors who can do it. There are directors who can find ways to create it. There are writers who can do the same thing. And it is, to me, it is magical. I just love that kind of thing.
That's when the magic happens. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I will tell you, that's the end of the questions, by the way. But I'll add one thing for you, especially Shelley, for Murder, She Wrote. I can't remember now. It's terrible when I can't remember. See, I can't remember either. But somebody that I interviewed that had worked with Angela Lansbury, and I thought that you'd like this story. And you know how you talked about how you would have to do a scene with like Elvis and the two of you would be there versus having a stand-in because that actor wouldn't be there? Well, Angela Lansbury, who you're not going to get much bigger or more, incredible as a career, whoever had on, and I wish I could remember who it was, they said that they had a smaller part on Murder, She Wrote, and Angela Lansbury had to be sent to the dentist because she had something going on. She had to have her tooth taken care of or whatever. Well, she leaves and she comes back to the show, even though she's had the surgery and she said the Novacaine and everything. And she comes back for this actress, I'm pretty sure it was an actress, and who had a small few lines so that she could be on the other side and have her direct the lines directly to her.
That is so great.
That's
a true pro.
That's a absolute.
You got it.
And you know who else did that? The two shows our gang always did that. But when I say our gang, I mean the MASH group.
Yeah.
Brod Crawford.
Oh.
Brod, who had a drinking problem.
Oh, yeah.
But he always stepped out and stepped over and was there on the other side of the camera when you're doing the close-ups. He always did that.
Oh, I love that.
Tony Quinn did the same thing.
Anthony Quinn did that?
Tony Quinn did that. Tony was brilliant. I was so thrilled to be able to work with him and watch and listen and learn. The man was a giant, I think, in so many ways.
Oh, that's so cool. I love hearing that. Just those that you are right. That's why they are who they are, you know? Yeah.
Right.
It's cool.
Well,
Well,
there was this, I'll tell you two stories if you.
oh, I got time. Go ahead.
One was at the end of it with Tony. At the end of a scene, there was a sort of dramatic thing. I don't remember what the development was, but a dramatic thing that had happened. And the camera was still rolling, and whatever had happened had happened. And I was moved to put my arm around him just to comfort him. And the director said, let's do that one more time. And Tony said, Mike, I said, yeah. He said, when you had that urge to put your arm around me? He said, yeah. He said, next time, want to, but don't.
Wow.
And I said,
wow.
Okay. Okay. God, I mean, that kind of thing. And the other was we were doing a show in which he was the mayor of a southwestern city, and he was of Hispanic descent. And one of the scenes said he was frustrated because of something that was said or something that was happening. I forgot what it was. But he said, do you think of me as a Mexican?
Oh my gosh.
The line, in the show.
Yeah.
And I had a response to that line. And then he said, well, let's give it a break. Just sit and we talked for a minute, and we talked about what was going on for the day. And then he looked at me and he said, you think of me as a Mexican? And for a flash, I thought, is he asking me that question, or are we doing lines?
Oh, wow.
I don't fucking know. It was so real. And I gave him the line, and we just went and did the scene. But I thought, okay,
wow,
that's acting. I mean, that's like life.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, hey, like I said, you're very fortunate, and you recognize it, both of you, and that's awesome. But hey, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. The fans are gonna love it. I loved every second of it. It was absolutely a blast to talk to you guys, and to have spent this much time with you. I am totally thankful. So,
you are a treasure as far as we're concerned. I think you're just wonderful, and I love the fact that you make it so easy.
Absolutely, yes. He's absolutely correct. I also want to tell you that we saw the show that you did with John Davidson, and it was so wonderful. I had worked with him, so I knew him, but that's you're in and out. But I knew him enough to know what he was like, and I thought your interview was perfect. And it was so informative about John and about his work life and things that he had done. And I always thought that he was really just wonderful. And when I did a Daniel Boone episode with him. And, and he was darling. But mostly what I want to tell you is that you were wonderful. There's a reason why you're so good, because you're so good. It's so easy to talk to you, and And I'm very grateful for that show and all the other ones that you have done. And thank you for us. We love doing this with you. So not with anybody else, but with you.
Well, I really, really, really appreciate that. I do. That's extremely kind of you, but believe me, it's all a gift to me. So thank you. I appreciate both of you guys. And yeah, especially taking all the time out. So anyhow, if you ever need anything, please always reach out. All right. All right. Thanks again.
Welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
See you guys. Well, thanks for listening, and definitely hit the subscription button. As well, hit the notification bell so that you'll know when my next episode is released. In addition, check out some of my other interviews if you haven't had a chance. Eric Roberts, Henry Winkler, Jerry Mathers from Leave It to Beaver. There's so many. Enjoy.